So tonight, it's my pleasure and privilege to introduce our guest speaker, Ilsa Loeser. She is the founder of Letterpress Communications, which is a marketing firm located in Farmville, Virginia. They serve clients throughout the region and beyond. So join me in welcoming Ilsa for tonight. So Ilsa, we'll get started. Tell us a little bit more about your business. How did you get started, and what you love most about what you do?
Sure. So I'll start with how I got started. It was roughly 7 years ago, around this time of year, that Longwood SBDC offered a course similar to this one. It was called Upstart. It was a 6-week course. I don't know if you in Farmville, those of you guys in Farmville remember Maria Hamilton used to bake cakes all the time, really good cakes. She was in my class with me, and there was like 7 other people in the class. I did that class while I was a reporter for the Farmville Herald. And my concept was to find a way to help the nonprofits that I've been reporting on tell their stories better. So I was thinking about doing like a freelance PR company. I had been reporting for about 3 years, and I noticed that like the YMCA, Piedmont Senior Resources, STEPS, a bunch of our local nonprofits were depending on the newspaper to tell their stories. And there's a bunch of issues with that. One, PR is a form of earned media, which means you can't control it. A reporter interviews you or gets your press release, and they have control over what they include or don't include. And that's just one of the cons of earned media, which meant a lot of these organizations weren't necessarily getting to tell the full story they wanted to tell. They weren't really strong on social, or they may or may not have had websites. So I kind of saw this need. I also saw that the paper was struggling at that point in terms of readership and its kind of relevance in the community. And so I was like, well, I want to help. I want to help these nonprofits, these small businesses tell their stories better. So I started this class, and then I did some side gig work while I was working full time, just a little bit on the side. And then a friend, I had been also volunteering a lot in communications on a lot of different boards. And a friend from one of those boards recommended me to my first client, which was Greenfront Furniture. So they signed a contract of hours with me, which kind of covered like roughly like a chunk of like a third of my income, which was substantial, right? Although I wasn't making a lot at the Herald. But it allowed me to give the Herald my notice. I asked my parents that if the company failed, if I can move in with them, because I was worried about, like, my rent was my biggest expense. I knew I could get forbearance on my student loans for a while, but like that kind of freaked me out. So I kind of like had this contingency plan. I was single woman, so I didn't have kids or anything, didn't need to worry about any of that. But I was like, okay, things fall apart, I'll move in with my parents and just have to look for a new job, was kind of the thought. So I started six years ago, April, the actual company, when I gave the Herald my notice. And yeah, it kind of accidentally, I always say, became a marketing firm over time. There were people who wanted different types of services, and I knew people or had access to people who could do those things. So before I knew it, I was putting the two together, and I had this kind of thing going. It wasn't until about 3 years in that I had, well, 2.5, 3, that I had my first employee. Currently, we're at 9 employees and roughly 40 contractors who work for us. And we have about 50 active clients currently. So that's our current, oh, thank you, Catherine. That's our current state of affairs. Something my business coach told me, so after y'all go through this, stay with SBDC and you can have a consultant. I've had the same consultant for the last 5 years. And he looks at my numbers and my books. He makes me cry. He tells me I'm overcharging or undercharging or whatever else things. Never that I'm overcharging, always that I'm undercharging, but keeps me straight. And why was I talking about him? I forget, but he has really helped me kind of stay on track through all of this as well. So anyway, there was a reason I was talking about him. Anyway, very helpful. Here I am, accidental, have this marketing agency. The thing I love about it the most is actually seeing our clients have successes. So we have, we work with Longwood Graduate Professional Studies, and we've worked with them for 3 years, and their enrollment was declining. And since we've worked with them on their marketing and their advertising, it's gone up 20% from 2 years before, during a time when a lot of graduate programs are just seeing declining enrollment. So stuff like that, stories like that make me feel. We have another client that brought us on to bring in 15 partner broker organizations. So it was like kind of a B2B sell. And we had a year to do it, and we did it in 7 months. So because we did it so fast, they're ready for the next contract. So it's a lot of, like, those sorts of things make me smile. That's part of the fun, is actually seeing those successes happen.
Congratulations.
Awesome. Yes.
Thanks.
You kind of alluded to this when you mentioned that kind of evolved into a marketing firm over time. So how is your actual customer different from who you originally thought you'd serve?
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know. Oh, and you don't know what you don't know. And you won't, like, even in setting goals for like a year from now or 5 years from now, you can kind of base it on what you know now. But just the more you're in business and the longer you stay in, the more you realize and the more you know. But I quickly, within about 2 years, which seemed like a long time, realized that if I was going to have employees and if I wanted to pay for my own health insurance or things like that, then the small businesses weren't going to be able to pay the rate we needed to for me to be able to hire people, give them vacation time, give them paid holidays, those sorts of things. And I worked really hard. I worked for another 2 years trying to find like packages or bundles of services, like social media coaching, where, we could charge thousands of dollars to run someone's social media account. And I knew nonprofits or small businesses couldn't afford that. So I found this like little package that was very reasonably priced from my perspective, and from a marketing firm perspective, it was still way more than any small business could ever afford. And so I had to learn to it took me many years to abandon keep trying to rework my pricing and my packages, because I so desperately wanted to be able to help small businesses, right? So I kept trying to figure out ways to price it or make it work. But after about 4 years, I realized that we need to focus on the larger companies that valued the work we could do results for, and do the level of quality of service we wanted to. And then work with small businesses through other contracts. So other organizations like the Stanton Creative Community Fund, or even SBDC or something, where taxpayer dollars or other organizations are helping support small businesses instead of the small business directly having to pay for it. But it took me a long time, and we lost a lot of money trying to figure out ways to be affordable to small businesses. But that was what my heart and my passion was in starting the company. Was I wanted to see the community of Farmville flourish. I had my heart and my passion now is more around, I'm trying to make that happen by being a good employer in my community, right? With high paying jobs. But I still personally to this day, and just have spent a good chunk in the last month talking to both my personal coach and my business coach about how I'm struggling with my personal alignment of passion with what letterpress needs to survive, and how those aren't what I started out of that initial customer and where we're making our money or how we're surviving is two different things. And so that's a reality moment right there. That's a tension for me.
What are the most important things you've learned from your customers?
I just continually learn over and over to listen better to my customer and trust what they're saying to me. Trust what they're saying about themselves to me. And I'll talk about that from a negative standpoint in terms of the proposal process, but also in a positive, like their culture or what will work or what won't work. We've adjusted a lot of how we do our work with clients, as instead of trying to impose systems on them, trying to find out how their systems work and how we can integrate with it. And I think too often I had early on a confidence that we could bring in this new revolutionary thing instead of working where the customer is actually already at. So like actually listening to what the customer has and trusting their experience of their world or their reality, and then figuring out how to integrate with it, right? Instead of just trying to do like a major mind shift, I think so often we think, oh, well, once I explain my 3 points or my value proposition, or once I make this clear to them, then they'll know. But the truth of the reality is people don't change, and businesses don't change, and cultures don't change, and they'll keep working the way they work. And so you kind of have to be willing to come to your customer where they're at. It's kind of like being in a relationship, like whether it was my past marriage or whatever, he ain't going to change, right? Like, and I think it's just like that same thing with the customer. No matter how revelatory you think your marketing is, whatever, they're not going to change. And to that flip side of that, I would say I have learned that the more challenging, I learn a lot about a customer. And this is the beauty of being, since we're a small company, I'm doing the sales for our company. So I'm right there. I'm doing the sales and putting together the packages and all that stuff. You can learn a lot about a customer through the sales or proposal process that will probably stay true after that too, right? So this is particularly as a consultant, I would say this, but it would work for other types of, but what it takes to get them in the door is probably what it's going to take to keep them. So clients that I had to like nickel and dime the price down for them, and they were never quite sure they wanted us, we never ever changed their mind. You know what I mean? Like clients that were excited to have us and eager or thought we had insights to provide, and often clients that we charged a chunk more thought we had great value and are excited by the successes they see with us and those sorts of things. So there's something about like that proposal process tells me a lot about a customer. And I've learned that if the proposal process or trying to reel them in gets too sticky, I need to just let it go and not work so hard at that particular proposal or that particular client. And so that's a hard, I like to work hard. I like to win. I like to, so letting customers go or potential customers. But what I've learned the hard way is customers that are really challenging were often really challenging to bring in as customers too, right? And it never changed in the process.
Awesome. And you may have sort of already answered this, but how have your assumptions about your business changed? Is your business today the way you envisioned it even a year ago?
Yeah, I know. It's right now, it's like it's who knows? I don't even know what it is right now.
Oh, did I go in and out?
Oh, sorry. Let me check my internet.
Okay, let me stop my video and see if that helps. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. How have your assumptions about your business changed? Is your business today the way you envisioned it when you first started, or even from a year ago?
Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah. It's definitely very different than what I envisioned. And it's changed a lot, and it's still changing. Right now, I'm in a big flux state about a lot of things. And there's just things you cannot learn until you're in them. And I made a decision about 5 months ago, 6 months ago, to hire 4 people. And I knew that was going to be hard. I knew that was going to be a challenge, but that was challenging in ways that I never could have imagined or known until I went through it. I think it's just like if someone has a kid or someone goes through a marriage that falls apart, or you think you know, but you don't know until you know what I mean? And so I think right now, the company is stronger and more beautiful in some ways in terms of the impact we're having, in terms of the team. I pulled some numbers together to figure out our average hourly rate we're billing. I had to figure out in a spreadsheet how to do a weighted average, right? Because how many, one client we're billing this much at this rate, another client, and I just trying to find our average, because we have some legacy clients that are at an old rate that's very low, and we have new clients. Anyway, trying to figure that out. And Greenfront, who was our first client, was originally 100% for, I would say, for the first 4 years of our company, they were at least half of our revenue for the company. And I just realized today on a walk, in tears, right? So I want you to hear this. Like I was in tears, upset, trying to figure out this issue, this major business conundrum, which I still have no idea how I'm going to figure it out. But in that moment, I realized that Greenfront currently has only 20% of our sales. And I was like, that was a huge win. That's a huge success. I've always dreamed of being in a position where if we didn't lose Greenfront, it wasn't the end of the world. And it was kind of in the middle of dealing with this kind of whole other decision-making thing that had this really cool realization of how big the company has gotten and how much we've grown outside of that, right? But it was like, I don't know, that's just the only, it's just you get an extreme high and an extreme low, like right on top of each other, right? So that's kind of the, I don't think, the other thing I would say about the business is kind of different, but what I expected from business growth that was different is that I thought, I thought making decisions would get easier. I felt like at the beginning, it was really hard, like come with the plan and the numbers. And do I go after these clients or these clients? Every decision seemed hard. And I thought it would get easier. And it has not gotten easier. And we keep making mistakes. But the problem is, and it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing, but like we messed up how we did something in the bookkeeping recently. We were getting cash in and we weren't entering in as unearned revenue. And so we should have, so we're showing more profit than we actually have because that money was gonna have to go back out. In my head, but something happened where it just didn't happen, right? And it's not a huge mistake, but 2 years ago, if we had made a mistake, that would have been a $2,000 mistake. When we made that mistake this year, it was a $50,000 mistake. And so I realized we're just going to keep, no, we didn't lose the money. It was just like that through the books like that, right? What I'm trying to say is with the company, decisions keep being hard and I keep making mistakes, but now there's just more zeros after it, right? Like the snake's there, but it's just, instead of a 10, it's $100 or a 1000 or 100, and so I think thankfully, right, things are good. We have clients who love us, who love our work. We have good impact on the community. We have a good team. Like, I don't want y'all to hear any of that, but I think the amount of the risk, I thought when I got bigger, the risk would go away or the risk would be less, right? The risk just keeps getting bigger and bigger, right? Like, so to me, even though, oh, this is why I mentioned my coach. As we come back around from the very beginning, my coach said, Ilsa, success can be just as painful as failure. And I did not realize, but I think that's what I feel that pain of that growth and that success and those mistakes with the extra zeros. We're surviving, we're good. We're going to actually have profit this year. We're not going to lose money, I don't think, but it is, I don't think I thought, well, I'm a smart girl and I'm used to, if I apply myself and think hard and work hard, things get easier. Like, you know what I mean? Math gets easier, or writing I can figure out how to like win the test or get the gold star, but that's not how it is in business. That's what I would say. It doesn't get easier. It just the curve gets steeper. Sorry, I feel like I'm the downer today, but yeah, no. There you go.
No, this is great. I mean, yeah, we're getting like a look behind the curtain, like the inside scoop. So we really appreciate it.